What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another NFL Prospect Draft Profile. Today, we're going to be going over tight end from Syracuse, Oronde Gadsden II. So let's get right into it. So starting off with Oronde here, he is 21 years old, around 6'5" in height, 236 pounds, and he spent all 4 seasons at Syracuse for his NCAA career. And really taking a look at his profile here, he has a very solid wingspan at the tight end position, of course, measured with his height, that being 6'5". It's right around the league average for the tight end position there. And his long wingspan really has allowed him to kind of catch the ball away from his bodies, which results in a pretty high contested catch rate there for Oronde here. However, I will say that his one true deficiency, that is being more so his speed, specifically more so his acceleration coming out of these breaks here. And while I go over his contested catch numbers in a later scenario here, it kind of proves that he doesn't get a lot of separation in terms of coverage. And specifically, he really deals poorly with kind of press coverage, especially in the slot where he was a lot of this time this season. So either he's going to have to bulk up or he's going to have to work on his footwork here to really get off the line of scrimmage and become a better target in terms of getting separation, especially in this Patriots offense, where Josh McDaniels has proven time and time again where he really likes to use his tight ends across the middle of the field. And if you're not getting the separation that you're really looking for here, I would say that would be a huge cause for concern here for the Patriots. But on to the positive with Oronde, like I said before, he really has done a nice job in terms of contested catch percentage, of having strong hands and coming down with these contested catches. So it kind of nullifies his lack of separation. However, of course, you'd obviously love him to get open more. And he really does show a very good catch radius, as I kind of stated before. He has shown the ability to really high point the football and kind of cover a lot of ground in terms of his ability to bring in balls that are thrown behind him, as well as kind of move up and down in terms of his hand placement, catching high balls or low balls. And it really does not affect him. And it does allow him for really one of his more positive bright spots here is he really moves with the quarterback well on some of these broken type plays, and the ability to really extend plays is where if quarterbacks are able to keep their eyes down the field, that's where he's going to get the majority of his yak yardage per reception. That's really where he did have success in terms of that category compared to on some of his more traditional routes. But these broken plays, he does a real nice job of kind of keeping the play alive for his quarterback, which really shows how much of a workhorse he is. And you pair that with his solid blocking numbers and steady hands, I think that this is certainly a type of guy that you really want to take a flyer on in the later end of these draft classes, maybe the 6th, 7th round, especially in a tight end class as deep as this one is here. And I wouldn't necessarily say that tight end should be a huge target for the Patriots, more so just playmakers in general. But if you do want to add a 4th guy into that room, maybe someone to compete with Jaheim Bell towards the later end of the roster, I think that Oronde here would be a certainly good special teamer / kind of 3rd tight end or 4th tight end that you'd like to have on the back end of your roster. So taking a look at his offensive grades here, he played 13 games in the 2024 campaign. He had an overall offensive grade of 82.6, a receiving grade of 82.6, a pass block grade of 65, and a run block grade of 66. He was targeted 103 times and came up with a total of 73 receptions for a reception rate of around 71%. 934 yards on the season for around 12.8 yards per reception. 7 touchdowns, as I alluded to before, pretty solid in the contested catch category, that being 17 of 28 for around a contested catch rate of 60.7%. Only 3 drops on the season for around a drop percentage of 4%. He averaged around 3.5 yak yardage per reception there, averaged around 1.89 yards per route run, and had an average depth of target of around 10.3 yards. And compared to some of the other tight ends we talked about, that being Tyler Ward as well as Harold Fanning, he does have a little bit deeper of a average depth of target as those two. So maybe a little bit more of a quote-unquote vertical threat here for Oronde compared to those two. But take a look at his run blocking grade. He more so kind of compares as a balanced blocker here in terms of the scheme that Syracuse ran in terms of zone and gap blocking. He took around 100 snaps in gap blocking compared to 105 snaps in terms of zone blocking. So pretty familiar with both systems there. And of course, Josh McDaniels is more so traditionally a gap type scheme, but certainly someone who can adapt well to each and has played a majority of his snap times in both of those, as well as the pass blocking. He actually did take some pass blocking snaps here. He had 34 snaps where he only allowed 1 pressure and 1 QB hit. So pretty serviceable as a pass blocking tight end here. And taking a look at some of his key games, the rivalry game between Boston College and Syracuse, he was targeted 12 times for 9 receptions for 114 yards and a touchdown. And in the bowl game against Washington State, he was targeted 5 times for 4 receptions with 74 yards and 2 touchdowns there. So very interesting how he was used in the bowl game. And he did have some success against Washington State. And really taking a look by his snaps by alignment here, he actually played the majority of his snaps in the slot, where he took 380 snaps compared to his inline tight end position of taking 350 snaps. So versatile in that aspect. And he actually took 71 wide snaps. So out of the tight ends that we've covered thus far, a lot of these tight ends that I've really discussed have been pretty versatile in terms of you can move them all over the formations, and they've shown success. So this is another guy who you don't necessarily have to play on the line. You could put him out wide, you could put him in the slot, and maybe they can create some mismatches in the secondary, which would allow this Patriots offense to really have some more multi-dimensional packages. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Patriots address the tight end position if they choose to do so in this draft. And it'll be very interesting to see how Josh McDaniels really uses some of these draft selectees on offense to create some mismatches and allow Drake May and this Patriots offense to have more success. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this video here talking about Oronde Gadsden of Syracuse. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below of whether or not you think his skill set would be a good add here for the Patriots. And hopefully I'll check you all out in the next video.